You gonna watch Get Out or It first?
It. Tell everyone what it is about.
Well, it's pretty much just a movie about a band of misfit kids in the small town of Derry who fight off a demon clown that feeds on their fear. Not much else to it. I'm pretty sure that we both agreed that the auteur theory in It was pretty obvious. Like, why don't you explain that to everybody?
I think the director definitely got his vision on screen accurately, and probably with the help of the special effects that they spent so much money on.
All right, so now we're going to go over our own ratings. I figured we would base it off of the artistic, the literary, the entertainment, and the educational values of the film. We put them out of 25 so that the total would come out to be 100 to give us a rating out of 100. Entertainment-wise, how did you feel about it?
I thought that they focused too much on the fear factor of it rather than forming and holding an intriguing storyline. And with so much happening so quickly and so almost randomly, I think it's kind of hard to focus on the main conflict, which would be finding Georgie.
I understand your opinion. I gave it a 20 out of 25. What did you give it?
A 12.
A 12 out of 25. Well, big difference, I see. For me, I loved the special effects and how exciting it made it. Honestly, I wasn't there to watch the story. I mean, it depends on who's going there to see it. For me, it was I wanted to see kids fighting a clown. But that's just me.
And they did that.
Sure did. Artistic. How did you feel about how artistic was the movie for you?
I gave it a 20 because I think the acting was really good. And even though all the kids were really young, they did a really good job of keeping their character and establishing their character pretty well. It had a recognizable soundtrack, and it definitely put the $35 million budget to use with the outstanding special effects.
I agree completely. The kids were incredible. A lot of talent was on screen. The special effects, that's definitely where all the money went. I mean, you saw Pennywise, and you're like, okay, this guy, they put a lot into him, you know? And really, it blew me away. I gave it a 22 out of 25 there. Educational value. So, I don't know how you feel about it, but for me, the only thing I learned from it was teamwork makes the dream work. That's all I already knew that too, but that's the only educational value I could see in it, unless a killer clown comes to your town and tries to kill you.
Right. I didn't learn anything at all, but that's not really surprising since it was a pretty high-budget horror film.
So the most difficult part for us to analyze this movie was the literary part. You had to go in a lot of depth on character development, setting, how relatable it was to the viewer, all of those types of things that you find in like books. So, how did you feel?
I thought that the individuality and the uniqueness of all of the characters was what stood out the most to me. They were all really different, but like they still showed senses of friendship and loyalty, and they were really strong throughout the whole movie. The setting fit it pretty well, just kind of like a small town in the 80s. But I do have to say that the plot was really messy, really hard to follow.
Very important part, that's right.
There wasn't very much symbolism. I think the symbolism was lacking.
That is all true. For me, I saw character development as the top point of the literary. That's why I gave it myself a 19 out of 25. What'd you give it?
An 18.
18 out of 25. I gave it a 19. Like, character development was so important to me. Like, every single one of the kids had some sort of way they changed throughout the movie. Even, like, the one kid, the bully. What's his name? Henry Bowers. That's right. Henry Bowers. I mean, he went from high school bully to all-out psycho murderer. I mean, every character I saw development for the most part, at least main characters. I ended up giving mine a total of 73 out of 100 for myself. I mean, that's pretty good. That's an average C for me. What'd you give it?
I didn't really like it, so it got a 59.
59. All right. Next movie? Ugh. All right, time for Get Out. All right, tell us about Get Out.
In summary, a black man goes to meet the parents of his white girlfriend, only to find out that they have some life-threatening tricks up their sleeve. I think it's pretty clear that the most fitting theory for the film would be the cave theory.
I agree. I mean, the cave theory says that, I mean, it makes the audience feel like they're actually there. They're really, I mean, the way the movie put it in modern times and with modern issues that are heightened quite a bit, but still political and talked about a lot, I mean, it really made you feel like, what if this actually happened? I mean, you're sitting there and you're fighting with Chris. You really feel his feelings, and you really want him to get out.
So we're going to go on to the rating system. How did you feel about the entertainment value of Get Out?
Entertainment for Get Out, I think it was probably one of the most entertaining movies of 2017 for myself. Probably, I gave it a 25 out of 25 for myself. I loved it. There was mystery to it. There was comic relief. It was half comedy, half action, half mystery. I mean, all of it together. I don't even know how to call it a horror. I call it it's a whole other genre for myself, and that's what drew me to it, and that's why I loved it. I followed it. How did you feel?
I also gave it a 25. It was a mix of suspense, satire, and a sense of dark humor, kind of like you said. It was pretty much impossible to not be completely enveloped in it within the first 15 minutes. It focuses more on tapping into your mind than it does the horror aspect, and I think that's what I liked about it. It was more of a psychological thriller than anything else. The twists and turns definitely kept me on my toes. I never got bored and always wanted to know what was coming next. How did you rate the artistry of the film?
The artistic value for myself, the actors did a good job of relieving the audience with comic relief and not keeping you too much in the dark. I mean, they did really well. I think that I applaud the director. He made his vision on screen. I mean, he made it political, and I mean, I gave it a 21 out of 25.
I gave it a 23. I think it was some of the best acting shown in modern film as of now. The production design gives it the eerie vibe that definitely fits the plot, and there was minimal special effects, but they were definitely satisfactory for the amount of action. How did you feel about the educational value of the movie?
Educational, honestly, racism isn't new, but it's important for it to be brought up. I mean, I gave it a 16 out of 25 because it wasn't a lot to learn, really, but other than, don't pick your 4-month girlfriend over your best friend that you've known for a long time.
Yeah. I gave it a 10, but I think that's mostly because I'm pretty familiar with the issues that have been portrayed in it, but I mean, it could be a learning experience if you're not familiar with the oppression of African Americans, but I don't think anyone's unfamiliar with that. How did you feel about the literary?
Literary, honestly, it was all good. The perfect setting. The plot was complex. You had different stories going on in the background, like Chris's mom. You had the parents obviously had tons of secrets and stuff that they kept in the past, but only thing that fell for me was character development. I didn't see any really. Rose, she obviously was a psycho the whole time. It wasn't a development into psychotic to becoming a psycho, but she just took off a mask. I mean, Chris, really, it was just his instincts to survive that made him who he was at the end, and he didn't even kill Rose, and that's where I saw that he was still the same man at the end, which is nothing wrong with that.
What did you rate it?
I gave it a 21 out of 25.
I gave it a 23. The characters were all individually powerhouses of their own. They didn't really need much explaining. The setting wasn't really anything special to me, but it definitely gave you the vibe of like an 1800s slave-owning family. I agree that we definitely didn't see a lot of character development, but what we did see were the characters definitely being pushed, and that's what kind of led to the change. That was, I guess, already there.
All right, and what was your total score?
81 out of 100.
And I ended up with 83 out of 100. Both of us give it solid ratings, I'd say. One of the top movies of 2017. Get Out. And we're going to get out of here now. See you next week, Sierra and Gabe.
I'm so happy.